Booyah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. We talked earlier this morning about Danielle Smith and the progress that she'd made across Canada as she went to Mar-a-Lago to essentially negotiate with Donald Trump over the threat of looming tariffs on the country. Now, the threat of tariffs was focused on a couple of things. People say, well, it's for handouts of big businesses. People say, well, it's to prevent other measures. It's to try and handle the substances coming over the border, and we have to say substances because of YouTube censors, illegal substances coming over the border, and immigration. But essentially, Donald Trump just wants the border tackled. He wants Canada to do something about their open borders. He wants Mexico to do something about their open borders because he's putting America first. I don't understand why it's such a big deal for our leaders to try and manage our border, to ensure that we're not making our country worse than it already is, if that's even possible, I might add. But while Donald Trump was being inaugurated yesterday, while a lot of celebration was going on around the world, Justin Trudeau, of course, was hiding, as usual, in Quebec having a retreat. Now, if you joined me on last night's live stream, I was talking about why on earth the Liberal government is allowed to spend that kind of money. I'm curious what it's going to cost taxpayers, as they haven't done any work since last summer. Essentially coming into Parliament just to dissolve it and then prorogue it in order to have a leadership race. It's unworthy of any government at this point to do anything that involves them having a retreat, taking it easy, putting their feet up, having taxpayers pay for their luxury lifestyles. Well, the old groundhog Trudeau decided to come out of his hole for a second and spread some good cheer when it comes to what we're going to do in regards to the United States. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody, this channel is growing at an alarming rate. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. Let's take a look at what's going on here in the news and get into today's story. First, I want to highlight what Canada could look like. Because yesterday, good old Cian Bexty, he does some great stuff with the countersignal. Big fan of Cian Bexty. He's got here former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss on Mark Carney. I strongly recommend not backing Mark Carney for his policies on net zero. It was disastrous for Britain. It'll be disastrous for Canada. This paints a picture as to what Canada is getting into if we look at these leaders moving forward. If we look at Mark Carney as a viable possibility for Canada, that kind of skips out of the screen, doesn't it? Let's just keep it on this level. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Just wanting to get your thoughts on Mark Carney and your relationship with him while you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and any advice you have to Canadians who think he might make a good Prime Minister.
Well, Mark Carney was Governor of the Bank of England, and under his tenure, too much money was printed, which did damage to the British economy and put our economy off track. He, at the last election, endorsed Rachel Reeves' economic policy. She's now become Chancellor. It's been a disaster for Britain. The country is heading for bankruptcy. So I would strongly recommend not backing Mark Carney or his policies on net zero, which have been disastrous for Britain and would be disastrous for Canada.
Do you trust his judgment overall, outside of ideological considerations?
Well, I believe that he made major mistakes in the management of the Bank of England. He has pushed net zero, which has been a disaster, not just for the UK, but for many countries across the world.
Thanks for your time, Prime Minister.
So what to take from that is, does that not sound like the Canada we currently live in? Printing money, pushing net zero, disastrous for Britain. It's going to be disastrous for Canada. We're already here. Just imagine what happens if Mark Carney gets in. Tariffs are going to be the least of our problems. But here you have Justin Trudeau coming out, good friend of the channel, Keith Wilson, coming out saying this desperate Liberal Party wedge play is an overplay, walking Alberta into a Clarity Act separation vote and into welcoming arms of Trump. The problem here is that I've talked about this on the earlier video. I've talked about this on live streams. What the Liberal government is doing, what this Team Canada approach is doing, is sowing division. This is what Justin Trudeau does best. If you think about the last election during the pandemic, you had Justin Trudeau chanting, "You don't want to get on a train or a plane and sit next to those people." Pure divisiveness. He split the country not just in half, but into tiny little sections. divide and conquer. Why any premier with Trudeau's low approval rating, the fact that he's on his way out the door, including Scott Moe, I might add. A lot of viewers have been upset with Scott Moe that he's joined this coalition of Team Canada as well. I don't understand how they can support what Justin Trudeau's pushing. If you watch Melanie Joly, if you watch Justin Trudeau, if you watch any of these individuals as they've been moving forward, all they're talking about is pushback on Donald Trump. We don't find a way to work with him. We don't find a way to make our trade relationship better. We don't go to the table with some form of negotiation. No, we don't bother securing our borders. We'll push back. We'll keep things the way they are, and we won't stock their liquor. Good old Doug Ford, who doesn't know what the heck he's doing. Closet liberal. Here we've got Justin Trudeau coming out of his little hidey hole to talk about what he plans to do against President Trump. During his retreat, I might add. Quote, if the president does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond and everything is on the table. Keep in mind the words you're going to constantly hear, because this is part of the divisiveness. This is how they get it done. It's repetition. Everything's on the table. Team Canada are going to be the two words you hear over the next couple of weeks more than anything. Team Canada, Team Canada, Team Canada, Team Canada. It brings in their little fan base. It gets them conditioned that what these guys are doing is the right thing. Kind of like one of those dog clickers to get dogs to listen to your commands. It's an earwig. It says here, PM Trudeau responds to U.S. President Trump on tariff threats coming in February 1st. Danielle Smith has only delayed the tariffs because she went down there and she dealt with Donald Trump. She understands from a business perspective what the United States needs. She understands what Canada needs. This guy and his Team Canada union of premiers doesn't get it. Now, keep in mind, folks, I talked a lot when I say Canada, when we talk about Canadians being against Alberta. Keep in mind, when we're talking about the provinces here, I'm discussing their governments, not the people. I don't speak for the people. All of this is our government. Let's take a look at what slimy Justin Trudeau had to say about Donald Trump and how he plans to battle incoming potential tariffs.
We heard the president's comments yesterday and the directive he has issued to examine the trade relationship between Canada and the United States while exploring the possibility of tariffs. But we remain confident in the facts. Canadian energy powers American manufacturing, businesses, and homes. Of America's top 5 trading partners, Canada is the only one with whom the United States runs a trade surplus in manufacturing. And Canada buys more goods made by Americans than China, Japan, and Germany combined. On top of that, President Trump said that he wants to usher in a golden age for the United States. That will require more steel and aluminum, more critical minerals, more reliable and affordable energy, more of everything to run the U.S. economy full steam ahead. Canada has all those resources, and we stand at the ready to work with the United States to create a booming and secure North American economy. The alternative for them would be more resources from Russia, China, or Venezuela. Canada is a safe, secure, and reliable partner in an uncertain world. President Trump also repeated his concerns about the border. While less than 1% of fentanyl and illegal immigrants that enter the United States come from Canada, our government has already acted to address the concerns raised by the President about border security with an over $1 billion comprehensive border plan. We're already working collaboratively to keep our citizens safe on both sides of the border. Of course, if the President does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond, and everything is on the table. working in unison with Team Canada, as Team Canada, with business leaders, organized labor, civil society, Indigenous leaders, and premiers from coast to coast to coast. We are prepared for every possible scenario.
No, you're not. You're not prepared for anything, Skippy. I mean, you've even got a good friend of the channel, Eva Chipiak, coming in. Just secure the borders. Why is that so difficult to understand? I mean, it explains it in a nutshell. Like, what you can take from this is that Justin Trudeau, again, when you listen to that speech, when you listen to his reaction to what Donald Trump is threatening, it's not a matter of we need to discuss with President Trump how to make things better. It's we're prepared to go to war. Everything's on the table. We have solutions in place should he push back. You don't make threats when other people are threatening you unless you want to go to war with them. Plain and simple. Keep in mind that this man is the same person who went down to Mar-a-Lago, sat at a table taking selfies with Donald Trump, and then told the president that if we didn't get their subsidies and if they didn't buy our vehicles, well, Canada would dissolve. Canada would just fall apart and crumble. He showed them our cards. So now he wants to stand up and say, well, we've got multiple solutions. All options are on the table. It's nothing but bullshit at the end of the day. They have nothing. They have nothing to push back against Donald Trump with. I believe the government wants this trade war. I believe they want more turmoil. They want to sow divisiveness in the country, all in time for a federal election. You're going to pit the East versus the West. And what you're sowing here is a setup to reduce Pierre Poilievre's numbers by voting in somebody like Mark Carney and saying, hey, farmers, agriculture, manufacturing, electric providers in Quebec, if you guys back the Conservative Party, they're just going to make things worse for you. Look at Danielle Smith. Look what she's doing with Donald Trump. Look what's happening in the United States. If you want a party that has your back, does that sound familiar? Well, then you vote for Mark Carney and you put him in office. He'll fight Donald Trump. He'll put an end to Orange Man bad. He'll set the rights wrong or the wrongs right. He will set the rights wrong. All that Donald Trump has brought on this country, and sheep will flock once again to vote for people like Mark Carney. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the agenda. And why other premiers that are not liberal are backing this prime minister's push for a trade war are completely beyond me. I think it's going to be disastrous for their numbers moving into their provincial elections. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think. Do you think those premiers are making the right call by backing them, or do you think they should maybe look at their Team Canada approach and maybe back premiers that actually want to support a trade partnership with the United States rather than a trade war? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure to hit that button, click the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show every week, as I sit down with my very beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, as we talk about everything that's happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth within our amazing YouTube community. We always look forward to hearing what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.